was a sight from my soul.
What's up? What's good? What is happening? Welcome to my Tuesday night vlog. I am the actual King Smith. And hey, look, if this is your first time watching my live tonight, welcome. If this is your second time because the first stream ended abruptly about 20 minutes ago, you saw nothing. And this is the first time that I'm actually going live on my Tuesday night vlog tonight. All right. So shout out to everybody that comes back and watch this on the replay. If I get nobody, that's still fine. If you catch it on the replay, do me a favor. Hit that like button for your boy if you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook. All right. I'm also streaming live over on Twitch and Twitter. The links to all of my social medias, to include LinkedIn and other stuff, is in the description on YouTube and Facebook. All right. So, assistant, play my background music. Okay. What are we talking about tonight? Internet dads wanted. Okay. Internet dads wanted. So let's highlight something here for a second. We all have mobile devices. A good bit of us have mobile devices. And I'm going to throw a soft flex out there. Some of us have 3. All right. We ain't going to talk about why I got 3 though. But in our lives, for most people, again, when you're born, you know, you've got your mother and your father. Some households aren't the same. Yet, you know, it's my opinion that it takes, you know, a well-rounded person to have well-rounded people around them. Shout out to Michelle early. She said, welcome back. A, hopefully I'm not struggle streaming today. I'm not on Wi-Fi, so we'll figure this out. And B, I don't have nobody else to pick up. Unless somebody calls me and tell me to come pick up a check, then your boy gonna be out the door so fast. I'll be leaving tire tracks all through Frederick, Maryland. All right. I have no problem saying where I live at too. If you're around the DMV area, hit up my social media. I'd love to go grab a drink with you and shoot the crap, as they say. Got to be careful what you see in the first couple of minutes on YouTube and Facebook. All right. But in today's live stream, I'm going to talk about what's missing out there for people when it comes to fathers, men in general. And I'm going to highlight this subreddit called Dad for a Minute, as well as share a story that a man shared with me on YouTube. All right. So go ahead and mash that like button on your way in. Hit that thumbs up button. All right. I do these vlogs every Tuesday. And coming into 2023, your boy content strategy might change up a bit. I might try to go live 3 days a week. All right. I believe I can do it. I think that there are people that, you know, would come and support the channel. So be on the lookout for a content strategy change. Okay. But when it comes to today's topic, all right, you have subreddits like Dad for a Minute. There's one called Mom for a Minute. And I'm going to highlight it on the screen here and hope my computer and internet don't freeze up on me. Oh, look at that. All right. So need a dad for a minute? Question mark. This community is for when you need understanding, congratulations, praise, or advice from a father figure, but you don't have one in real life, able or willing to provide that for you. We are here for you. We support you and love you unconditionally. And there's 36 people that are on right now. I'm one of those 36. But check this out. I don't know. Oh, it says right here, this community was created July of 2017 with 57.4 thousand members. And look, it's no secret. I told y'all, none of my social media is secret. I do have secret social medias. But if you want to find me on Reddit and see past things that I may have said some dumb things on or some smart things on, come look me up, King Smith 02. That's my public facing Reddit. Y'all will not get my sneak mode Reddit out here. All right. But I like this subreddit because it's pretty positive, right? And I'm hoping people are getting advice from men out there or father figures that they don't necessarily have. I was fortunate enough to have my dad in my life. All right. We didn't always see eye to eye, as I've talked about on some of my previous live streams. But I was glad to at least, have him or other older men that were willing to offer me advice, like my uncle, Nathaniel Smith. Okay. He'll tell you, he'll share his testimony, so to speak. Nathaniel Smith was somebody who went to jail for drugs. Okay. Served his time. And when he got out, he was about, making positive things out there. And he didn't have any kids when he got out. All right. As far as I know, let me say that. So when he got out, he put time into me and my brother into sports and things, trying to mold us into be good, productive young men. And I say we turned out all right. With my dad being a truck driver, he wasn't necessarily home most of the time because he was out on the road during the week and home on the weekends. And his weekends were pretty regimented, so to speak. You come home on Fridays, you do church on Sundays, Saturdays we would occasionally go out and do things. And something that I talked about too on my vlogs is that my dad didn't give me a lot of advice from guy to guy perspective. A lot of his stuff came from the church. When I was 15, I didn't want to hear all that. I didn't want these thous and those should do thy thing as my advice. I wanted, hey, Pops, I got this girl that liked me. What do I do? So me and my dad didn't, talk like that, but me and my uncles surely did. All right. But there's people out there who don't have their dad. They don't have anybody that's an older male figure that they could get solid advice from or attaboys. So what do? They come online for advice or attaboys. All right. Or just to share. You can almost even call it like an online journal, so to speak, to get advice from, men that they don't have. Was talking on the stream yesterday, and it was about this rapper, Tory Lanez. I don't know what his real name is, but an issue that he's got himself into. And when I think about it, how he acted was in a manner that logical men would tell you that if you're zenful and you keep the peace around you, you can almost kind of dictate how other people will react around you if you've got that kind of influence, right? If you're somebody that has that kind of impact. When I think about families that are pretty functional and well-rounded, when you take a look at their household, the dad's kind of the rock. You hear other people say, you got this person's the rock. I'm telling you my observation. Y'all might look around and see something different. And if so, that's cool. But I believe statistically, if people were to observationally take a look at houses with solid foundations, you've got a really strong male presence in the household. Okay. And for those that don't, I think that things happen that they kind of, don't have that logical, sensible, solid advice from a solid male that they can go to. My channel is not just for men. My channel is for people to understand the average guy, in my opinion, because that's where I put myself. I'm not a celebrity. Out of all of the billions of people that are out there in the world, only a small amount of people know who I am. But I consider myself the average guy. All right. I'm a father. I've lived literally around the world. I've traveled around the world. So that puts me at a different perspective than you can kind of say most. I've had a chance to bond and, share a beer with other people of different cultures. And that's what helped open my eyes. Okay. My way is not going to be the best way for people. Person B's way is not going to be the best way for somebody. But if you can at least come and have a community of people that can offer you advice, bravo. Like this person right here wrote, Dad, I'm scared. I wish that some people would write what their age was on here. But this is somebody that says, ever since you left, I've been really scared, all on my own. I'm trying my best to keep my ground with my mother, but I'm afraid of her authority too. I thought I'd be able to like you. I thought I'd be able to be like you. You've always been brave. However, I'm afraid I'm as cowardly as a mouse. I want to be better. I want to do the best for me, but I like wisdom, and those older than me take so much advantage of my vulnerable position. I'm curious if this is a male or a female, and I'm curious what this person's age is. Okay, but they're coming on live on Reddit, a subreddit, seeking advice from a father figure. And some of these, have comments on them like these are all pretty new, pretty fresh. Okay. Dads, my last psychiatrist let go of me and I feel so lost. All right. I need someone to tell me I'm good enough as I am. This is somebody who found out that they were diagnosed with autism at a later age. Please don't be mad, need a pep talk. Like, just take a look at some of these topics, right? I miss you. I like this. Hey, Dad, I got a new job. You passed away almost 2 years ago. You were amazing in every way, and I'm so lucky to have had a dad like you. All right. So look, for some reason, there are people that, don't have their fathers around. It could be for health reasons. It could be that they're just not in the house. They never knew them, and they want somebody to share certain things with. I got a question in the chat from Michelle on Facebook. She says, to those watching, who do you go to when you are in need of advice and paternal support? Okay. For those of y'all that are watching, answer that. If you catch this on the replay and not live, put it in the chat. I'm curious, who do you go to when you need advice and or paternal support? Okay. I have a community of people that I go to for advice, or just men advice in general. I have my father, I have my dad, I have my homeboy Ron, okay, Larry, pretty much any of the afros, because them jokers a lot older than me. Not a lot older, all right, but I'm the youngin' out the group. But I'll hit up, other men that are either in my peer group or older for advice. What's interesting is I've got some older male cousins that I know that anytime I could hit them up, but we just don't have that type of relationship. I know I can hit them up if I ever needed anything. But to answer that question to Michelle, and also so that other people would feel comfortable about putting theirs in there, yeah, I go to my dad, my uncles, and some of my peer groups. All right, if I need to talk about man stuff too, or get male advice. Okay, so for those of y'all out there that might be looking for a community, I put the link to this subreddit in the description on YouTube or Facebook. Okay, if you don't have anybody in real life that you could just share something with because your father's not around, reach out. The internet's a weird thing in that it can be extremely helpful or hurtful depending on who you get the advice from, right? I'm not a therapist, but if you ever ask me a question, I'll just try and offer you my best advice. Or if I don't know, I'll flat out tell you I don't know. All right. So I want to get into this next thing to close out the live stream. Can I pin that link to Reddit? Absolutely. Let me do that real quick. Let me go here. I'm going to put this in the live chat. All right. And then I'm going to go on here and pin it over on YouTube. Let me get over here and do this. I hope y'all Tuesday night's going well. I got to do some filler stuff over here while I get to where I can pin this thing on YouTube. And I'll go back after the live stream and pin it on Facebook as well. But I dropped the link down in the chat. You'll be able to see it. Hit that like button for me. If you're over there catching this on the replay or you're watching live, I hope I'm on mute. Otherwise, you're going to hear this. Oh, I am on mute. All right. So let's get this thing pinned in here, and then we're going to go to the next story. Let's drop this one more again. Boop, boop, boop. And then, pin that message. Look at that. I know what I'm doing over here. When I can do a poll? Oh, snap. Hey, your boy might do a poll in the future. All right. So let's get to the final thing that I wanted to talk about today. There's this cat, Sarah Garvey. He does YouTube content around relationships and just human dynamics or whatnot. He's a guy over in England, I believe, or the UK, somewhere over there. All right. And he does some pretty good content. He's a very in-your-face kind of guy, right? And he doesn't pull punches with the things that he talks about. But he put out this video the other day that was 8 minutes long, and it was titled Black Women and Their Stubborn Behavior. And I thought it was interesting that he put black women in all caps and behavior in all caps. Don't do this to me. What is going on today? This is a bit of a struggle thing. All right, because now I have to go back and find this comment. Because in this comment was a guy, Leroy Jenkins, and what he talked about, I wanted to highlight. So let's bring his comment back up. In here, let's see. Come on, don't do this to me, YouTube. This guy put up a comment, and it was a story that he shared that I was like, yo, this needs to be talked about. And something that rarely happens in these public spaces like this is men coming on sharing their stories. So you have people getting on here going through it, all right? Yet when these, things happen to these people, they don't necessarily want to share and talk about what they're going through because they're embarrassed, or there could be a plethora of reasons why they don't. And I asked this guy, hey, would you be willing to come on and share your story as a father on my platform? And he said that he didn't want to, but man, I really want to get into this story. All right. So this guy talks about how this video really hit home for him because his son's mother behaves exactly like the lady in this video behaved, which she basically said she doesn't like to be told that she's wrong. All right, so that's the synopsis of the video. Hey, y'all, I know big words. Give myself a round of applause. All right, synopsis. I know words more than 2 syllables. Okay, but he goes on to say that one of the most disappointing things that happened in his life happened because of his kid's mom and the way that she taught his son to behave. All right, so he goes into his background. He retired from the U.S. Army, salute to you, due to his service injuries. He's 100% service connected, disabled, and glad to be here. And he said that he almost died numerous times. After a lengthy recovery, he got well enough so that people don't know I was ever injured unless I told you. And look, I'm going to highlight this real quick. It's not just the injuries that you see with servicemen and women in the military. There's those invisible wounds, okay? Stuff that they've experienced or dealt with that the average person, right, may not have to experience out there. So I wish he didn't really qualify that, but at the same time, it's kind of good that he did so that I can tell y'all as well out there that people have those invisible injuries that you don't necessarily see as well. Okay? So he was on the enlisted side. He's got multiple degrees. He did multiple jobs, and he's looking at going back to school to start a graduate degree in psychology. And he said, needless to say, I'm always improving myself. I wanted my son to be better than me and make more progress in life than I did. And I tried my best to push him in that direction. He goes on to say, when his son was living with his mom, he got into some minor trouble in school and started smoking weed. I told his mom to send him to me, which, look, in my opinion, young men should be with their fathers. Okay, I even think daughters should be with their dads past a certain age. I'm going to speak generally here and just kind of give my observations on some things. Guys, for the most part, are more structured. I'm not saying everybody, and I'm not saying that ladies are incapable of providing that structure. But my observation is that men generally provide more structure to their kids. All right. And this type of story is going to highlight this. All right. So when this guy got his son, he enrolled him in school, got him a part-time job, put him in extracurricular activities to keep him busy, and pulled some strings to get him a spot on his high school JROTC rifle team. That parlayed into a scholarship at a local university level ROTC team, which was the same college that he graduated from. And he said the words, I was so proud. All right. Here's a guy that was getting his son's life back on track, so to speak. So he said his son had a scholarship, and if he stuck with the program at the university, he would have gotten his commission and became an officer. He was supposed to go into the attack helicopter training program and fly the Apache AH-64. His tuition was paid for. So were his books and supplies. He'd have to owe the Army 8 years of service in exchange for paying his tuition, but he'd be an officer, he'd be an aviator, and he'd be captain promotable on his way to making major and wouldn't have any student debt. And let me tell y'all, if it wasn't for me serving in the U.S. Air Force and using my GI Bill to get my college degree, when I take a look at what some people are graduating with student loans and debt, I shake my head. How are you supposed to launch in life, so to speak, when you have all of this massive debt to pay back off? And certain fields like doctors, lawyers, you know, the training that you need, I get it's important. And you certainly do earn a salary commensurate to that. But man, I'm hearing of people 20, 25, 30 years while they're trying to pay on their mortgage, their car, a family, you know, getting married with somebody else that also has student loan debt as well. What are you supposed to do with your life trying to launch with this debt? It's ridiculous. I would not have gotten my master's degree if I didn't have the GI Bill. So to exchange 8 years of military service, and that's 8 years at a minimum. Yo, those 8 years go by so fast. I'm 38. All right. If I look young and handsome, I certainly don't look 20. But you know, to almost be 40 and as fly as I look, where was I going with that? Oh, time flies. So I served just under 10 years when I was in. So that 8 years ain't nothing. My initial enlistment was for 6, and then I re-enlisted for 4. Okay, and those 6 years fly by. And Bashir early to my point said that you're not, meaning that you're not able to really kind of get launched when you've got this massive student loan debt coming out of college. Okay, so this father setting his up for success when he came back and moved in with him. But look at what happened. Okay, right before he was set to graduate, he starts talking to his mother again, and she starts telling him college is stupid. Black men shouldn't fly helicopters, and serving your country is dumb. She also told him, she also told him A wasn't SHIT. Oh, that the dad wasn't crap because he wasn't paying for his college out of pocket. What kind of idiotic statement is that? Okay, I'm getting you set up. I'm also not going into debt for your education, and your son, our son, has the opportunity to earn his college without nobody needed to go into debt. This sounds like a straggle person who has a warped view of life. And look, I'm not trying to be disrespectful to your kids, mom like that, somebody who you may have had a relationship with. I don't know if he ever said in any of the versions of the story that he was married to this person. But, oh man, look, let's go into it. You got to be careful who you skeet in. And I'm just going to say that just like that. All right. Be careful who you skeet in and who you get pregnant, because you're tied to that person for as long as y'all are living. And if you have kids with the wrong person, it can make your life a living nightmare. Okay. I feel fortunate that my kid's mother is not a living nightmare. Shout out to her. Right. I'm just going to say shout out to her. If she ever became a living nightmare, I will be taking the appropriate steps to ensure that, I deal with her accordingly. But luckily for me, I don't have to do that. Okay. We've got a pretty decent co-parenting thing going, and I'm thankful for that. All right. So she goes on to say, why pay for college when you can use, or he goes on to say, why pay for college when you can use other programs to pay for it? Programs you don't have to pay back with anything other than time and service that benefits you and provides training you'd never be able to get otherwise. Okay? He's basically saying blood equity, sweat equity, so to speak. Private pilot training is expensive. Then he goes on to say, anyway, the next thing I know, he starts a fist fight with me in my house, and I had to restrain him. The neighbors heard the commotion and called the cops. Even though I didn't want to press charges against him, the state where we live pressed charges for domestic violence against him. He was still a minor at the time, so I had to send him back to live with his mom out of state in order to avoid the charges. Because he was still a minor at the time, remanded to the custody of an out-of-state parent, and I didn't want to extradite him, the state dropped the charges. Okay? So that's good. He worked out things in a way that it wasn't going to ruin his kid's career, but his son acted out of emotion and really walked down the wrong path that changed his life. Okay? Because of a toxic, I'm trying not to say something that's going to really be extremely rude or disrespectful, but the kid's mom really set him back. Okay. Not having the guy think logically. So he said, we got over that jam, but then went his scholarship. Gone. All right. Just gone. And he couldn't come back to where he lived. And once he got back with his mom, they started arguing and fighting, and he drops out of school completely. A couple of months later, he ends up catching a breaking and entering burglary charge and assaulting a police officer for resisting arrest. Now he's got a police record and no hope of ever completing the path that the father was trying to put him on. His mom saw all of the positive progress I was making with him, and she completely ruined it. Now that's his take on it, and I believe that as well. I believe that with this guy, he probably turned things around. I'm going to make some assumptions here. He was probably with his mom at one point. There was something that he liked about her. Actually, I don't even think guys really have to like somebody to sleep with them. I think if they're a warm body and they're willing and able, and you're at full salute, guys would stick their thing in anybody. And it's sad. Tragic, actually. Because those 5 pumps or, 2 minutes of work could lead to a lifetime of headaches. All right. The kid dropped out of school, and he's saying because of her and started smoking even more weed. I cut them off and haven't talked to either of them in years. I was just too disappointed. He went from being proud of his son to disappointed. And then even wrote, I was in therapy every week for 2.5 years because of that. I feel less terrible, but I still feel pretty bad. I just don't think about it as much. Hey, look, it's not your fault, man. I know you can get hung up on that, feel some type of way about everything that you tried to do. Not only the blood, sweat, and tears that you put in for being in the military, but the things that you set up for your son. Those aren't things that you can just flip a switch and everything's already going to be in place for him. You know, you did work yourself to put him on a path to change his generation. And look, you can't blame it all on the mom. I would say that she had a big influence on what occurred because it didn't seem like your son had structure in place. But it's not on you, man. It's not on you as a father. You can feel some type of way because you're like, man, if I only had him more, right? If I only had him more, he'd have that structure and that discipline to be able to follow and see things through. But I'm glad you went and sought therapy for it because it likely weighed you down, and that's something that people struggle with. But Cher earlier said that you can only do so much, and that's true. You can only do so much. The kid still needed to make the right decisions, and he didn't. All right. He said his son was set to be the first black aviator in his family. With the education and connections he would have made, he would have been set for life. And hey, look, there's just something about getting that type of education, meeting people from around the world that does set you up. You just see things different. I got a buddy of mine, Nathaniel Strand. Shout out to him. He's a warrant officer, but he was enlisted Air Force. Nate didn't necessarily make the best decisions as a young 20-something-year-old, but now the guy's on a complete different path. He's got his family pretty set up, and he's a helicopter pilot as well. He's not an officer. He's a warrant officer. I guess you could say a warrant officer is an officer. But it's those things that can just have you set up. The guy goes on to say now his kid has a criminal record. He works at a meat packing plant slaughtering chickens. I wonder if he's talking about Tyson's. He eventually got his GED, but we all know how worthless those are. Hey, look, let me talk about GEDs. GEDs, oh man. People don't know this, and I didn't know this until I talked to somebody that did it. You don't even need your GED to get into college, technically. You can, you don't need your high school diploma to get into college, technically. You can get your GED, take the ACT and the SAT, and score high enough to qualify to get into college, okay? So your GED right after high school kind of matters. Your high school diploma matters, but I wouldn't necessarily say that the GED is worthless because I know somebody that's doing real well that intentionally didn't finish high school because they wanted to get a jump on life. And this person saw that actually getting their GED was the faster way of starting to become an adult, to, work their adult life earlier. And I thought it was a backwards plan and I didn't understand it, but this person's vision got them there. So a GED is not really worthless, but it depends on how you parlay it. All right. He goes on to say that his son went from being a potential high school graduate, a college graduate, and a licensed aviator to working a mindless job at a slaughterhouse. As his father, to say I'm disappointed is an understatement. Hey, look, I would likely feel the same way that he felt. Okay. He said working a mindless job at a slaughterhouse. I don't discount the work that anybody does, all right? Because this guy's able to work at the slaughterhouse, I could go to my local grocery store or meat place and, get me my chicken, all right? But I get what he's saying. He was saying how he had him set up on a path that was a lot different, yet because his son didn't make the right choices, he's now working at a slaughterhouse. He finishes up by saying, ironically, you would think that my son's mother would approve of our son pursuing a military career, considering she was a soldier and served as well. That's where I met her. I don't think I read this part earlier. So she knows the benefits of the path that I was trying to put him on. But she never seemed to have any ambition, and she didn't want me to have any either. I couldn't stay with her, and I couldn't marry because of that. He says everything was nice at first, but the more time I spent with her, the more messed up things got. I vowed to take care of my son, but I was not going to stay with her and let her stifle my ambitions and progress, especially if she couldn't follow instructions well enough to handle our business. Whew. I didn't let her ruin my life, but she ruined my son's life just to get back at me because she knows how much I love him. That whole venture was an utter and complete fiasco. So what the fuck is this? And I was like, yo, bro, I can't even imagine how you feel after setting things up for her to be undone that way. And What the Funk said, hey man, thanks for spending time to write all of this. It'll help me be even better father in person, and I'm sorry that you're not connected with your son the way that you wish. So the guy wrote back, and he said he felt like deleting himself, but that's what all of the therapy was for. That was the single most painful thing that I've experienced in my life. Not the fact that he's jumped out of airplanes and have had several physical injuries in the Army from being airborne. He said the single most painful thing he experienced in his life was not having his son work the path that he had set up for him. Not having his son realize that all he had to do was take the emotions out of things and work with logic to see that he had a path that could have been great for generations. And this kid, or this person, Leroy Jenkins, which is not his real name, is pretty much saying that his mom's the reason why his son, didn't have the tools to be successful. And he said that woman spent all those years alienating me from my son. And when I finally did get a hold of him and put him on a path to success, she completely ruined it and destroyed his life by manipulating him into doing a bunch of destructive activities. She wouldn't obey me, and she taught him to do the same thing. Now, if you're watching this kind of late, remember the video that this guy is commenting on is about a woman who basically said that she don't listen to nobody. Man, actually, specifically, she said she don't listen to no man. Okay, and she was adamant about it too. And one day this week, I'm actually going to do a reaction just to that video. All right, because I think that it's a good one to kind of pay attention to, because people are facing this with people all of the time. You will have people show you one face, and then once they get you hooked, show you a different face. All right, they'll be all agreeable and stuff in the beginning, but once they're like, gotcha, then it's like, no, I'm gonna be like this, and you just gonna have to deal with it. I'm gonna tell you right now, King Smith will not be hoodwinked and bamboozled like that. All right. So this guy goes on the right. It wasn't like I was asking him to do, or the path that he had him set up for was a bad one. Years of planning went straight to hell in a matter of months, and having to sit back and watch as his son turned his life into complete dog crap was painful for him to watch. His mother couldn't hurt me directly, so she used my son to get to me. I can't talk to them on the phone or even look at pictures of either of them, especially his son. He's an adult now, but all I ever see is that little boy whose mother hated me and hated him so much that she never even cared about him enough to make sure that he had a chance to make it in life. And he said, I hate that selfish B word. And the thing that boggles my mind is why? Why did she do all of that? Nobody gained anything good, but she's satisfied with the results. Knowing that she caused a tremendous deal of pain gives her great satisfaction. I could hear it when I used to talk with her. She's absolute crazy. I used to tell her she could cut off her nose to spite off her own face. And he goes on to say that it's an old saying that describes someone's self-destructive attitude towards themselves and others. All right. And let me see. He finished this off here by saying, before you start talking about getting married to someone, make sure you know their family history of traumas, know their relationships with each of their parents, and spend time with them to make sure that they aren't hiding something dark and wicked. It's just not worth dating an American, European, or Western woman. Yo, he got real specific with that. It's just not worth dating an American, European, or Western woman. Get your passport and find a wife overseas in a non-Western country, one with traditional values and a family that will keep her hypergamy in check. Yeah, hypergamy was a word that I just learned like within the last year and a half. And I think it's an interesting word. And I'd like to do a live stream on that, but with other people that's smarter on that word than me. All right. Let's see. Whatever you do when you get married to a foreign woman, don't bring her to the U.S. Let her stay in her country or be prepared to move there. You bring her here to the U.S. and everything will fall apart. Shout out to Mona for popping up in my Tuesday night vlog. All right. We are wrapping up. But Mona, let me tell you, I had a conversation with the guy on YouTube who shared a story about how his son did not follow the path that he had set him up for after his son came to live with him. I guess he was primarily with his mom. He got into some trouble. He got his son to come and stay with him and had him set up on a path for success. His mom got reintroduced into the picture, and according to this guy in his story, destroyed all the progress that he made with his son. His son now has a record, and the father blamed himself for it. Okay. And I wanted to try to get the guy to come on to share his story, but he wasn't willing to put his face or his real name out there like that. And in my opinion, I think that it's, it's tragic that men don't come on and share these stories in person. Okay. So I wanted to highlight this story on my vlog today. Bashir Early said, while I respect his opinion, I hate when people put those restrictions out there, and not all people are the same. Okay. So y'all can see right here where I tried to ask this guys if he'd be willing to come on and talk about it on my Chats with Dads or just on my channel in general. And he said, thanks for the offer, but I'm going to have to respectfully decline. You can share my stories with others if you like. I don't mind. But unfortunately, I never appear in any type of public forum where I could possibly be identified by face or voice. I don't like having my picture taken, and I rarely appear in any recorded media or film. Doxing me would be difficult, as my actual name is pretty generic. My actual name, before I legally changed it, was Aaron Tyler Anthony Smith. I'm just going to say it was Aaron Tyler Anthony Smith. My legal name is indeed King Smith, but I changed that joint back in 2013. That's no secret. I've talked about that publicly. Okay. That's why my brand and my channel is The Actual King Smith, because I actually changed my name to King Smith. All right. And he said that there are things that he likes to do and enjoy the capabilities that his anonymity affords him. Okay. And look, I get that. Shout out to Joe. He said, what up? That is going to be my co-host for the sports bar. Not necessarily my co-host, but I'm doing a sports commentary show on WTF Nation Radio the second Sunday in January on WTF Nation Radio and US WTF Army Moments. All right. And Joe's going to be one of the guys that's helping me get that set up. So I thank him for that. Mona said, wow, she agrees. Moms alienating the sons, but they want the father to come in the picture once they get out of hand. Then the moms show up and the child is ruined. We hear that story way too often. Okay? But not enough people are talking about it. Not enough people are talking about it. She goes on to say, that's cool, love my name. Hey, appreciate it. I chose it. Even though, and this isn't a secret, my daughter's name is Castle Smith. Her name was Castle before I chose to change my name to King. But I thought King was a strong name, you know. So I went with it. But back to the story. Look, people and men need to hear things like this, okay? Tale as old as time. The cycle keeps happening because not enough men are speaking up. Also, too, I remember being in my 20s. I'm glad I was kind of married in my 20s because I might have made some reckless decisions in my life that wouldn't allow me to be where I am today. Okay. So there's pros and cons to the decisions and choices that you make in life. But I'm glad I didn't go through anything like this guy that I shared in this story and what he went through. I'm glad that he shared his story and that he was cool with me talking about it, because he's not the only one. Okay? He is not the only one. So that's my live stream for today. Before I go, let me check my comments here and see what people in the comments are saying. Mona said, I get calls all the time alleging moms abusing their son because they alienated the sons and moms can't do anything with them. It's sad. I don't know what the stats are, but observing things, and I think I talked about this at the beginning of this stream, you know, guys tend to have more structure. So when you look at men or families that have a good, strong father figure, they're kind of the key to that, like the backbone for that. And if you're a single mom, I'm not saying you can't get the job done. There's single moms that definitely get the job done, that they provide the structure that's needed to their kids. But observing, I see the structure typically fall out of place when the kids are primarily with their mother. But then when they get to the father, that father does provide their structure. Okay? Mona said that, yep, men do provide structure, but boys will be boys. Hey, look, I want to give a clap, not the clap, but a clap to all of the fathers that are out there that are being good examples to people. We hear all of the bad news that occurs out there with men, like Amari Stoudemire. Okay, just yesterday, a former NBA player got in trouble and arrested for slapping his daughter. And when you read the comments are divided about what he slapped his daughter for. Somebody had graduated or something recently, and his mother, his kid's grandmother, had said something, and I guess was in the other room and shouted like, "What?" And Amari Stoudemire went to go correct his daughter, and apparently she gave him lip, so he smacked her. I'm going to reserve my comments about what I think about that. But if you go look up the article and go read the comments, you know, parents are divided. There are some people that are saying that, hey, he did the right thing by, you know, correcting his daughter for saying what all disrespectful like to their grandmother. I think there's a different way that it could have been done. But when you think about this too, where are these children getting this level of disrespect from? Are they observing it online? Do they see other kids that don't have structure acting a certain type of way, so they think that they can do it? I bucked at my parents one time, and it was when I thought that my dad did something so irrational that I just couldn't understand it, and I got mad. And I was 16 at the time, 16 or 17. And my dad went to go and, you know what? That's a story for a different time, because I don't think I can close out this story quickly and close out the live stream. So, Michelle, if you're still listening, remind me to share the story about when I bucked at my dad for picking up my PlayStation and dropping it on the ground, potentially breaking it. It was a PlayStation that I bought for, not one that he bought. It was one that I bought when I was in high school, and there's a reason why I want to share this story. So thank you for hearing that, marking that, and reminding me to bring that back up. So to everybody that tuned in live, thank you. All right. Shout out to Mona for popping up. I appreciate you. Michelle, Tarika Smith, one of the best mods out there, who shares the same last name as I do, but we are not related. When I get back down south to Georgia, I'm gonna have to come and look you up and go and hang out. I think that you're cool peoples, and I appreciate you for doing this mod thing on my channel. All right. To anybody else that popped up and said something and I forgot to shout you out. Oh yeah, Joe. Earlier, Pete was in. I know that Jason's gonna check out the live stream. Super C was in here earlier. Thank you. Hit that like button for me on YouTube and Facebook. And have a good night. I'm out. Peace.